Congress Committee of America, the activist group Klitsch, welcome. We are going to be starting with the American National Anthem. I would ask Olya Tsventarna to perform our anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed in the twilight less gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous heights, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave. Slava Ukraini!
And now, Trioda will perform the Ukrainian national anthem.
Ще не вмерла України ні слава, ні воля. Ще нам, браття українці, усміхнеться доля. Згинуть наші воріженьки, як роса на сонці. Запануєм і ми, браття, у своїй сторонці. Душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу і покажем, що ми браття козацького роду. Слава Україні!
His Beatitude, Metropolitan, Gujak, Most Reverend Bishop Benedict, the Honorable Consul General of the Government of Ukraine in Chicago, Mr. Serhiy Kolyadov, the Consul General of the Republic of Poland in Chicago, Paweł Zajcek, Consul General of the Czech Republic in Chicago, Yaroslav Katurek, Consul General of Bulgaria in Chicago, Sviatoslav Stankov, Acting Consul General of Canada in Chicago, Aaron Annabelle, Deputy Consul General of the Federal Republic of Germany in Chicago, Christopher Fuchs, Deputy of His Majesty's Consul General for Chicago of Great Britain, Maria Rennie, Deputy Consul General of France in Chicago, Beranger Taravard, Attaché of the Consul General of the Republic of Lithuania in Chicago, Julianus Matukas, Most Reverend Fathers, we welcome you to tonight's commemoration of 365 Days of Freedom. I'd also like to welcome the Honorable Congressman representing Illinois' 5th District and our friend, Congressman Michael Quigley. Welcome the Honorable Mayor of our great city of Chicago, Miss Lori Lightfoot. Also, I saw you. Thank you. Is Kristen working here? No, I didn't see him. Okay.
They're on their way.
They're on their way. Ladies and gentlemen, and also with us, Alderman Viejas. Thank you for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, members of our ethnic communities, Lithuanians, Latvians, Poles, Georgians, Belarusians, thank you for your support. Thank you for coming. Welcome. And once again, we appreciate you coming out on this cold night to honor our victims of this huge tragedy and our Ukrainian armed forces. It's been a year, 365 grueling, horrible days since the dictator Putin launched an unprovoked attack upon Ukraine. Daily we see photos of the devastation caused by bombs, missiles, artillery, tank strikes, and unmanned drones. Our countrymen, our families, our people are facing annihilation and a modern-day genocide at the hands of a madman. The bombing and destruction of civilian targets, apartment buildings, schools, theaters, kindergartens, hospitals, railway stations, and industrial facilities are crimes that contravene all Geneva Conventions and need to be punished. Vice President Harris at the Security Conference in Munich last week called Russia's actions crimes against humanity. The civilized world needs to condemn these acts of barbarism and punish the perpetrators. Sanctions are not working. Greed is allowing companies to circumvent sanctions and boost their bottom line. Is the making of money more valued than the lives of the innocent? The sadists and degenerates masquerading as Russian troops have inflicted torture, committed murder, abused women, children, raped women, young girls, and children to break the spirit of the Ukrainian people and demoralize them. But yet, with all the abuse, the degradation, the death, the spirit of people yearning for freedom burns brightly and hardens their resolve that their fight is right. President Biden, on this week's visit to Ukraine, proclaimed that the United States will stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes. Mr. President, the Ukrainian people, the Ukrainian diaspora across the world urge you to take immediate action and release the F-16 jets to Poland, freeing up MiGs to be transferred to the Ukrainian armed forces so the skies above Ukraine can be defended and innocent civilians protected. We call upon the United States government, the United Nations, the European Union, to once and for all punish the perpetrators and save the innocent. Add Russia to the list of state sponsors of terrorism and isolate them from the world. No diplomatic missions. Removal from the UN Security Council, a complete embargo on all trade and commerce, total removal from the SWIFT banking system, and a complete demilitarization and denuclearization of Russia. Then, and only then, will the world breathe easy, and our children, grandchildren, and all the generations following will be able to live in a safe world. God bless America. God bless Ukraine. Glory to Ukraine. Slava Ukraini! До перемоги! Now I'd like to call upon Metropolitan Gujak to say a few words prior to his address at the cathedral.
Дорогі сестри і брати, слава Ісусу Христу! Let us have no doubt. God's truth will prevail. For the last 365 days, Ukraine has been in the hearts and souls of people in Chicago, Americans, and all people of goodwill throughout the world. Never before has a human event so mesmerized the global attention. Ukraine is the epicenter of global change. Politics, diplomacy. The nature of the European Union and NATO. Energy and food policy. Ecology. But most importantly, our brothers and sisters in Ukraine who, like David, stand up to Goliath, are making people, the world around, think about what is true and what is false. In the 21st century, when we live in a time of transactional everything, when everything can be bought and sold, when we deconstructed what we hold dear, when there's your perspective and there's my perspective, many Ukrainians are saying, not so fast, buddy. There's good and there's evil. There's truth and there are lies. In the post-truth world, Ukrainians are saying, for the truth, I'm willing to risk my life. Ukrainians standing up are making the world stand up. And we bow our heads to those who have given their lives. I invite you to come to pray at 7:30 at the cathedral. Будемо молитися, брати і сестри. Have no doubt the truth will prevail. Правда, Божа правда, переможе. Слава Ісусу Христу! Слава Україні!
Thank you for those moving words, Metropolitan. We encourage everyone after this to go to the cathedral for the service. Now I'd like to call upon the Consul General of Ukraine, Mr. Serhiy Kolyadov, for his remarks.
Thank you, Igor. Reverend Fathers, Honorable Congressman Quigley and Krishnamurti, Honorable Mayor Lori Lightfoot, the officials from Cook County and the state of Illinois, and of course my colleague from Consulate Corps. I'm glad to see you all today, and it is a great pleasure and privilege to be here with you. Dear friends, February 24th, 2023 will mark 1 year since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine began. The only reason for this unprovoked aggression was the Russian state's and its top leadership neo-imperial and expansionist ambitions. Putin made a fatal mistake. Russian propaganda claimed Ukraine would only last a few days. In reality, Ukraine has not only stopped the invasion, but has also been able to free nearly half of its newly occupied territories through successful counter-offensives. Russia has become a global pariah this year. Dear friends, we are grateful to all those who make our resistance possible. These are all our defenders. The armed forces of Ukraine, ground forces, our infantry and tank men, air and naval forces, artillery, air defense, paratroopers, intelligence, bodyguards, the special operations forces, the security service, the National Guard, the police, the territorial defense units, all our security and defense forces. Thanks to them, Ukraine stands. Don't ask how long this war will last. Ask how to help Ukraine win faster. The sooner and the more security assistance Ukraine gets now, the sooner war will end with a comprehensive, just and lasting peace. Neither Ukraine nor anybody else is interested in the protracted war of attrition that will increase casualties and demand additional resources. Ukraine has made it clear that we will not accept peace at any cost. We won't agree to anything that keeps Ukrainian territories occupied and put our people at the aggressor's mercy. Russia must be stopped now, because appeasing the aggressor would lead to more atrocities elsewhere. Russia has not changed its plans to destroy Ukraine. Every time Russia cynically calls for negotiations, its occupation force do the exact opposite and try to go on the offensive. The Kremlin keeps up its mobilization and acquisition of weapons and ammunition by making more of them at home and working with its allies. The Ukraine peace formula consists of 10 distinct points that, when implemented, will bring comprehensive, just, and long-term peace to Ukraine and security to the entire world. We urge all countries around the world to participate in the implementation process. There is no other way to end Russia's military threat to its neighbors and the European way of life when to defeat it on the battlefield in Ukraine. Ukraine continues to fight for freedom. We fight for as long as it takes to win, because in the face of Russian genocidal aggression, we have no choice but to win. Ukrainian law enforcement agencies launched an investigation into 70,000 crimes and crimes of aggression committed since February 24th. They include the killing of 10,000 and wounded of 13,000 civilians. These figures, growing daily, do not take into account the occupied territories to which law enforcement officers do not have access. Every Russian war crime must be punished. The establishment of the special tribunal will enable Russia's political and military leadership to be prosecuted for the gravest crime, the crime of aggression. This war is not about Ukraine. Russia's brutal attack destroyed global security and endangered all nations. This war must and will be the triumph of international law and the UN Charter. Justice might be restored for Ukraine, Europe, and the whole world. Dear friends, Ukraine can and will win the war. We are deeply grateful to all our allies, our diaspora, our volunteers. More support now means faster victory and peace. The spring and early summer of 2023 will be decisive for the course of war. It is possible to win the war this year. The speed of ending the war primarily depends on timely military technical assistance from our partners. We must not allow it to slow down, as it will only prolong the war. More weapons, particularly artillery and ammunition, tanks, long-range missiles, and fighter jets are now required to drive the aggressor back to the Ukrainians' international recognized borders. Dear friends, it was a year of resilience, a year of care, a year of bravery, a year of pain, a year of hope, a year of endurance, and a year of the unity. The year of invincibility, the furious year of invincibility. Its main result is that we endured. We were not defeated, and we will do everything to gain victory this year. God bless America. God bless Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!
Thank you, General Counsel. Now I'd like to bring up, once again, Olya Tsventarina to sing a song of her own composition about the loss of life in Ukraine.
Recently I was interviewed by several journalists and they all asked me, what do I think about Putin's last speech? I said it's meaningless. It has no sense and we don't even need to listen to it because whatever he says, these are just the words of a dictator that needs somehow to persuade his own people to go across the border to the other sovereign country and kill people there. The only meaning is to persuade them to kill. And for the rest of the world, for civilization, it doesn't matter anything. What really mattered, what President Biden told us, that the United States stand by Ukraine, that we are together and we will defeat this evil.
Thank you, Olyu, for that truly moving song. If you've been following the news reports the other day, it was announced that 15,000 Ukrainian children have been taken from Ukraine and taken to Russia for retraining, re-education. This is, again, a crime against humanity, and Russia has to be punished for this. Up next, a friend of Ukraine, a true friend that has been to many of our rallies, who has stood in support of Ukraine, I don't know, ever since he's been elected, truly. I want to introduce our representative, our congressman, a member of the Ukrainian caucus in the Congress, Congressman Michael Quigley.
Thank you. You know, I look back at my notes in speaking with you over the last year, and the constant theme was, as long as it takes. I can't just say that anymore. After being at Bucha and visiting Ukraine and meeting with President Zelensky last summer, and today it was reinforced because I went to St. Nicholas School again today. 75 young people who were refugees attending school there from Ukraine. I'm remembering what President Zelensky said to me in Kyiv and what he said in Washington, D.C., which should be our mantra now. Help us win quickly. A long-term war of attrition is not victory. We're told that we can't escalate, that we're worried about Putin's red lines. It is long past time to worry less about Putin's red lines and worry about our own. Red lines that were crossed when a maternity hospital was flattened. Red lines that were crossed when hundreds of people were brutally murdered in Bucha and many, many other instances, and the instance we're talking about of taking kids away to another country. So I heard about the F-16s. Look at what the HIMARS, which is long-term weaponry, moved the Russians back 50 miles. We have others that can push them back even farther. I don't want to go back to St. Nicholas next year at a second anniversary. I don't want to come back here and talk about a second anniversary. I want to come back here and talk about what does victory mean. Victory means the restoration of Ukrainian borders. Victory means holding those accountable for their crimes. Victory means a stronger Eastern and Central Europe with Ukraine at its core that is safer from these attacks in the future, and a rebuilt schools, housing, and hospitals that have been, and infrastructure that have been torn apart. so that next year we can talk about moving forward together and ending the reign of Vladimir Putin. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, Congressman. Now it gives me great pleasure to introduce the mayor of the greatest city in America, Mayor Lightfoot.
Ladies and gentlemen, we stand here 1 year in, remembering and hoping that a year ago that we wouldn't be here. We stand here marking, as the Consul General said, a daily watch of crimes against humanity, aggression with no seeming end because of the criminal and monster of Vladimir Putin. But we also know over this long, painful year, where we have stood a daily vigil in support of the freedom-loving people of Ukraine. They have taught us about strength, about courage, about resilience, and never, ever giving in to evil or hate. We see on a daily basis the heroics of the military who are fighting against an army that many believe would be no match for them, that they would never be able to fight back against the Russian army. But we know that lie because we see it every day in the heroics of the Ukrainian soldiers, the men and women who are out there on the front line every single day, risking everything on behalf of love of country and love of freedom. We also see that in the daily heroics of the civilians in the cities that have been bombed mercilessly by Putin, trying to break their will in the height of the winter, destroying, clearly targeting civilian targets every single day in Ukraine. But yet, every single day, we see the resolve of the people of Ukraine. They will never, ever be broken by the murderer Putin. They tell us in graphic detail what price freedom. What price freedom. And our job and our responsibility here in one of the largest Ukrainian communities in the United States is to make sure that they hear our voices lifted up in support and solidarity and unending support for everything that they stand for. We can never waver. We must make sure that our federal government, from the president on down, hear our voices in Washington, D.C., and say in one loud, unified voice, we stand with Ukraine. This is a sign that I got a year ago when I came here. I have this in my car every single day in my window, so that people pass by know of my resolve that we stand with Ukraine. And then it reminds me every single day, no matter how tough we think we have it here, that we know nothing of the daily sacrifices of the people there who are hungry, who are cold, who are burying their dead, who are mourning the losses every single day, but nonetheless will never be broken. We must continue to fight on here, to support the people in Ukraine, but also to welcome the families who are here, the mothers and their children who have come to us, seeking shelter and freedom and support and love. We have an obligation to continue sending supplies that are necessary to bring together the people of Ukraine, whether they're in Ukraine or in Poland and other places in Eastern Europe. We must continue as a city to stand united with our brothers and sisters in Ukraine and cheer them on every single day to victory. Like the Congressman, I hope for a time soon that we will come back together in this place and celebrate the unequivocal victory of the Ukrainian people, and that the war criminal Putin will be held accountable in The Hague for the things that he has done to try to destroy humanity and freedom. Ukraine is not just a country in Eastern Europe. It is a front line and battleground for all of our freedom, for the people who love democracy. We must stand united every single day with the Ukraine, because we cannot let Ukraine fall, because if it falls, democracy falls everywhere, and we will never let that happen as Americans. We must stand united with Ukraine. We must stand united with our brothers and sisters and make sure that this has meaning, that it is real, that we share and walk and live our values every day. God bless you. God bless Ukraine. We must fight on to victory. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. At the beginning, we had said that this war is 365 days. Truthfully, it's 9 years. And if we go back even further, it's lasting several hundred years. But tonight, we are honoring the victims, the brave men and women who have defended Ukraine. Those 365 days, we are going to count down 1 second of silence for each day.
February 24th, 2022, Day 1. Around 5 in the morning, Russia began a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The state border was breached in the Chernihiv, Sumy, Luhansk, and Donetsk regions, and Russian tanks were entering through Crimea. Almost all major cities were attacked by cruise missiles. The armed forces of Ukraine and every Ukrainian resisted. The defenders of Zmyny Island indicated the course for the Russian ship. February 26th, President Zelensky said, "I need ammunition, not a ride." March 9th, Day 14, Mariupol, Russian airstrike on a maternity hospital. March 16th, Day 21, Mariupol. The occupiers dropped a bomb on the drama theater where people were hiding. The end of March, Russian troops withdraw from Kyiv. April 4th, Day 40, the world sees horrifying footage from Bucha. April 13th, Day 49, Ukrainian missiles sunk the flagship of the Black Sea Fleet of the Russian Federation, the cruiser Moscow. May 20th, Day 86, Azovstal, 86 days of defense of Mariupol. The higher military leadership gave an order to preserve the life and health of the garrison's servicemen and stop the defense of the city. The defenders of Mariupol were captured by the Russians. June, wheat fields were burning. Harvesting was impossible because of Russia's war against Ukraine. July 29th, Day 156, Olenivka. The Russian Federation once again committed a war crime. More than 50 prisoners of war from Azovstal plant that were kept at Olenivka on the temporarily occupied territory of the Donetsk region were brutally murdered inside the building. September. In a major offensive, the armed forces of Ukraine liberate territories occupied by Russia. September 15th, Day 204. After the liberation of most of the Kharkiv region from Russian troops, mass graves were found near Izum. During the exhumation, 447 bodies were discovered. It could have been any of us. simply because we are Ukrainians. October 10th, day 229. As a result of a massive missile attack during the morning, critical infrastructure facilities were hit in 8 regions of Ukraine, including the capital of Kyiv. Do you still think that you can scare us, break us, make us make concessions? You really did not understand anything. Don't understand who we are? What are we for? What are we talking about? Read my lips. Without gas or without you? Without you. Without light or without you? Without you. Without water or without you? Without you. Without food or without you? Without you. Cold, hunger, darkness, and thirst are not as terrible and deadly for us as your friendship and brotherhood. But history will put everything in its place. And we will be with gas, light, water, and food, and without you. President Volodymyr Zelensky. November 11th, day 261. Kherson. After 8 months of Russian occupation, Kherson was liberated by Ukrainian armed forces. In 1 week, the forces deoccupied 179 settlements, covering more than 1,738 miles. December 21st, day 301, Washington, D.C. 300 days after his country was invaded by Russia, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visited Washington, D.C. for talks on what the next 300 days might bring. January 14th, 2023, day 325, Dnipro. Russians launched another missile attack on the territory of Ukraine. In Dnipro, they hit a residential building with a rocket. 40 people were killed, 70 injured, and 236 apartments were destroyed. Day 365. Ukraine continues to defend freedom with the support of the whole world. Day 366. Day 381. Day 402. What will the next days of the war bring? You have the power to influence the future. Help us defend the free world against tyranny. United for freedom. Arm Ukraine now.
Arm Ukraine now! 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 Arm Ukraine now!
Ladies and gentlemen, we have to move our program along, and it gives me great honor to introduce another true friend of Ukraine. So much so that at his presentation a year ago, he was put on a banned list and he cannot travel to Russia. So Congressman Krishnamurti, you're going to have to vacation in the United States and not Lake Baikal. Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman Krishnamurti.
Slava Ukraini! It's my honor to address you. More than 1 year ago, after I spoke out in favor of our steadfast and unwavering support of the Ukrainian people, the Russian media took note and put portions of my speech on RTV and called me the lowly Indian congressman in support of Ukraine. I'm glad they took note, but they got a couple things wrong. First, please don't mistake mine or your humility for meekness. We will never surrender to dictators. We will never surrender to tyrants, and we will never surrender to Putin. Now, they called me an Indian congressman. While I may be of Indian origin, we are all Ukrainians tonight. We are Ukrainians in our love of freedom. We are liberty, and Ukrainians in our love of democracy. Since those speeches in the intervening 365 days, I voted many times for military aid for Ukraine. I voted many times for humanitarian aid for Ukraine. And of course, I've spoken out at all or many of your rallies in support of Ukraine. And as was mentioned before, Vladimir Putin banned me from Russia. I wear that ban as a badge of honor. I will always continue to stand with Ukraine. I will always continue to stand with you. Slava Ukraini.
Thank you, Congressman. The Ukrainian community always knows we can count on your support. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd now like to introduce the President of the Cook County Board of Commissioners, Ms. Toni Preckwinkle.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm grateful to be sharing the steps today with Congressman Quigley and Congressman Krishnamurthy and Mayor Lightfoot and the other honored guests. I want to begin my remarks today by thanking President Biden, because you know, we made a terrible mistake a number of years ago when the Russians went into Crimea, and we didn't try to call them to account then. We let them get away with the aggression. And we're paying the price today because they thought, because they were able to take over Crimea, that they could roll through the Ukraine without consequence. But President Biden said no, and he's organized our allies, not just here in the United States and Canada, but all across Europe, to try to hold the Russians accountable and to provide arms and support for the Ukraine. So I want to thank President Biden. That's been difficult work, and we're all grateful for it. And I want to honor the people of the Ukraine today. Not just the armed forces on the field, the warriors, but all of the people. Because as you've heard from other speakers tonight, Russia is making war on the entire nation, attacking civilians, attacking innocents, in a way that's pretty much unprecedented in wartime. Just blatant attacks on civilian populations and murdering prisoners, stealing children and taking them to Russia, all of which he should be held accountable for. So I want to thank you all for participating in this event tonight and reminding all of us of the courage of those in Ukraine and the importance of our continued support for their fight for freedom. Because that fight is for all of us, not just the people of the Ukraine. And we're very grateful to them for standing up, for having the courage, the commitment to defend their country and to defend democracy. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Now I'd like to bring up Saulius Kupris, who has guests from Lithuania, members of the Lithuanian National Guard. Saulius.
The Baltic Committee stands in unity with the Ukrainian ongoing battle. Today we are honest, but that we are confronting the same evil. As the Wall Street Journal reported, within 2 days of the invasion, Lithuanians raised 2 million euros to support the Ukrainian army. Within a month, it was 17 million. So today, as a sign of our unity, we're presenting a small token of, with respect to our common goals against tyranny.
So that you can see, the Lithuanians have honored us with a plaque saying, Slava Ukraini, Heroyam Slava! Thank you from the bottom of our hearts, from the bottom of Ukraine's heart, for the support of the Lithuanians, the Poles, all the Baltics, the Eastern Europeans, Germans, literally the whole world other than the axis of evil. So thank you once again.
Your struggle is our struggle. Your victory will be our victory. Thank you.
Now I'd like to ask, pardon me, I lost my place. Now I'd like to ask a young activist who has done just some truly phenomenal work for the cause of Ukraine. If you look behind you, you see in the streets 365 photos that have been taken. We had them printed, and I want to thank Self-Reliance Credit Union for printing all those photos without any cost to us. I want to thank Heritage Foundation for actually funding this project and tonight's event. But I'd like to bring up Lilia Popovich to say a few words.
I'll be short, I promise. So many words was said already. I just want to say hi and how are you? I know you heard this phrase so many times, and millions of people heard this phrase so many times, but for us, Ukrainian, it's different. You might answer, I'm okay, but we are never okay. For us Ukrainians, this phrase, how are you, yakta, has a new meaning. It means, are you safe today? Are you okay physically or mentally? How did that explosion reach your house? Are you alive today? And the biggest fear is hear the silence as an answer. We're not scared of Russians. We're scared to hear a silence as an answer. On the street, you can see 365 posters. And many of those pictures show how silence looks for us. How that phrase, this person cannot be reached at that moment, looks for us. It means death. But as Ukrainian in the world, I have to tell you the truth. I'm sure in a worldwide news, you heard many times how many people died in Ukraine. But that's not true. They were killed. And this is the huge difference between death and killing. Killing can be stopped. Killers can be stopped. Murders can be stopped. And that's what Ukrainian army doing right now. Ukrainian army stopping murders and killings. We need help because Ukraine fighting not just the freedom of ours, of all civilized world. We need the weapons. We need to defend this world. We need air defense weapons. We need F-16. Let's Ukrainian freedom flag. Can you show that poster, please?
F-16!
F-16 for Ukraine. I'll be specific what we need. And this war did not start a year ago. It's already started 9 years ago. And it did affect us, but it also affected the whole world. And we repeatedly say it, the unpunished evil will return. So let's stop it together and forever. Glory to Ukraine. God bless America. Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Тільки скажу декілька слів українською. Я вдячна всім, хто прийшов сьогодні. Ми маємо залишатися разом. І я тільки хочу сказати, що ці постери, які ви бачите на вулиці зараз, 365, ми покажемо в центрі міста завтра о 2 годині. Ми збираємося біля Water Tower. Якщо ви маєте можливість, будь ласка, приходьте. Дякую.
Thank you, Lilia. You can see we have many young activists in our community, and Lilia is certainly one of our shining lights. So at the very end, she had said, for those that don't speak Ukrainian, that tomorrow, the young ladies, the young gentlemen, the volunteers who are holding those posters, those behind you on the street, they're going to be gathering by Water Tower, and they're going to show the city of Chicago. They're going to light up down Michigan Avenue. So the citizens of our great city, so we can raise the awareness of the tragedy that is going on in Ukraine. So once again, thank you, Lilia, thank you, activist group, Klitsch, for your activism, for your support of Ukraine. Unfortunately, our governor, J.B. Pritzker, couldn't be with us tonight, but he did send a proclamation. I would now ask Vice President of the Ukrainian Congress Committee of America, Illinois branch, Dr. Groshko, to summarize the proclamation.
Шановна громадо, dear friends of Ukraine, we have received a proclamation from Governor J.B. Pritzker, he could not be with us today, in which he, in fact, indicates and proclaims February 24th, 2023, to be a day of solidarity with the people of Ukraine in their fight for freedom, and I commend them for their strength, courage, and bravery. On this day, let us recommit ourselves to helping the Ukrainian nation reclaim full sovereignty over its international borders and remember its heroes who sacrificed their lives to ensure freedom and independence for future generations. The entire proclamation is posted on the UCCA Illinois website. You can read it in total. Also, proclamation from the mayor of the city of Chicago, Ms. Lori Lightfoot, is also posted on our website. Please read both proclamations in total. Thank you. Дуже дякую.
Thank you, Dr. Maria. Ladies and gentlemen, we are almost at the end of our program. Before we leave, I'd like to acknowledge a few things. I'd like to thank the parish of St. Volodymyr and Olga for allowing us to hold this meeting on the steps tonight. Their commitment to the cause is unwavering. So thank you, the Presidium, Otech Oleg, for allowing us to hold the meeting. I'd also like to thank the Ukrainian Cultural Center for allowing us to use their facility to put together the posters, for all the work that we have done. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, we have a number of foundations that have been in the Chicago area who have done just incredible work. I'd like to acknowledge Help Heroes of Ukraine. Help Heroes of Ukraine has raised in excess of $20 million, have sent innumerable amount of aid to Ukraine. They have volunteers on the ground in Ukraine, volunteers here. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Terletsky. Thank you, Roman. I saw him in the back there somewhere. Thank you, Elvis. You guys are doing phenomenal work. Also, we have the other foundation is UA Resistance Foundation, Ms. Ella Lopatina, who has done also incredible work transporting ambulances, fire trucks, again, all aid of all types. So if you're moved by their work, please donate. Also, UCCA, our chapter, Illinois Division, has done, we also have a fund that we have helped Ukraine. We have also spent a tremendous amount of money on humanitarian aid. We have helped Umana, Help Heroes of Ukraine, other organizations. So please, I know that at this point in time, over the past year, you've given and given and given until it hurts. Give a little more. Help Ukraine achieve total victory. Last but not least, I'd like to thank the clergy for being in attendance, for being with us. You hear it every Sunday, the support that they show for Ukraine. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., there will be a flag raising. Those of you that travel through downtown Chicago, on Grand Avenue is the large flagpole. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., the veterans, Post 32, along with the Organization for the Defense of the Four Freedoms of Ukraine, they'll be raising the Ukrainian flag along with the American flag at that location.